Attached to this lecture here, you'll find the starting project you can see here. I just started it with npm start. It uses create react project. I didn't edit it to use CSS modules. Instead, I just import CSS files so that they affect the project globally, but that doesn't pose an issue here. And I got a couple of containers, or one container, and a couple of components. As you can see at the example of the full post component here, which is responsible for rendering this part here. Now I do have class-based components here as components because I will add some state and lifecycle methods here. Now of course you could theoretically also convert these to functional components and use hooks there, use state and use effect. But as for the rest of this main course here, I'll stay to the class-based syntax, and to learn all about hooks I got these separate modules. Still, I only have one component which will distribute some properties down to other components. This is the root page, you could say, which should render some posts at the top, then a full post with some details about a post we clicked on, and the area for creating a new post. You can see all these features here on that page. Now, I do have some dummy content here because I want to load that post data from a server. And for that, we're not going to use a real server. We will do that though in the next module when we apply some HTTP functionality to our course project. But here I will use JSON placeholder, which you can find at jsonplaceholder.typeicode.com, which simply is a backend, a RESTful API backend, which you typically use as I explained in the last lecture, where you can send requests to fetch some dummy data or to simulate storing some dummy data there, though you won't actually store something on that server, of course, it's just faking some data, but exactly what we need for learning how to send HTTP requests. For example, you can send a request to that URL here, a GET request, and you will get an array of JavaScript objects of dummy posts. And this actually is what I want to start with. So we will start with that in the next lecture, but we of course need some way of sending these AJAX requests. And here you have basically two options. JavaScript of course has the XML HTTP request object, this object here. With that you can construct your own AJAX requests and send them to a specific URL and handle the response. Nothing wrong with that. Since React is just about writing JavaScript everywhere, you can of course use all the JavaScript features, including XML HTTP request. But writing and configuring requests with that object manually is quite cumbersome. So the second option is to use a package, a third-party library, which makes that easier. And for that I recommend using Axios. Axios is a third-party JavaScript library, which you can add to any JavaScript project. It's not connected to React at all. But of course it fits nicely into React because it's, well, JavaScript. And the Axios page here on GitHub is a good starting point to learn more about this package. I will of course walk you through some of its core features in this module though. But again, this is not something strongly connected to React. Axios can be used in any JavaScript code. So let's install Axios in this lecture already and then get started using it in the next lecture. To install Axios, I will quick my development server with Ctrl+C and then run npm install Axios --save to also store an entry in the package.json file. This will download and store the package, and with that we can start using it in the next lecture to fetch some posts. So let me restart the development server with npm start, and I'll then see you in the next lecture to download some posts and output them there.